Hi, this is Jinky Cruz Tolentino, your live storyteller. Today, we will have Chapter 4, The First Principle of the Science of Getting Rich. Let me start. Thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. The stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks, and a thought of form in this substance produces the form. Original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in original substance. As a formless stuff thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of a motion, it makes that motion. That is the way all things were created. We live in a thought world, which is part of a thought universe. The thought of a moving universe extended throughout formless substance, and the thinking stuff moving according to that thought took the form of systems of planets and maintains that form. Thinking substance takes the form of its thought and moves according to the thought. Holding the idea of a circling system of suns and worlds, it takes the form of these bodies and moves them as it thinks. Thinking the form of a slow growing oak tree, it moves accordingly and produces the tree, though centuries may be required to do the work. In creating, the formless seems to move according to the lines of motion it has established. The thought of an oak tree does not cause the instant formation of a full grown tree, but it does start in motion the forces which will produce the tree along established lines of growth. Man is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that man fashions with his hands must first exist in his thought. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing. So everything that you hold in your hands were thoughts first. Okay, let's continue. As our first step, we must lay down three fundamental propositions. First, we assert that there is one original formless stuff or substance from which all things are made. All the seemingly many elements are but different presentations of one element. All the many forms found in organic and inorganic nature are but different shapes made from the same stuff. And this stuff is thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. Thought in thinking substance produces shapes. Man is a thinking center capable of original thought. If man can communicate his thought to original thinking substance, he can cause the creation or formation of the thing he thinks about. Man is a thinking center capable of original thought. If man can communicate his thought to original thinking substance, he can cause the creation or formation of the thing he thinks about. To summarize this, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces a thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. If one man who reads this book gets rich by doing what it tells him to do, that is evidence in support of my claim. But if every man who does what it tells him to do gets rich, that is positive proof until someone goes through the process and fails. The theory is true until the process fails, and this process will not fail. For every man who does exactly what this book tells him to do will get rich. I have said that men get rich by doing things in a certain way, and in order to do so, men must become able to think in a certain way. A man's way of doing things is a direct result of the way he thinks about things. To look upon the appearance of disease will produce the form of disease in your own mind, and ultimately in your body unless you hold the thought of the truth, which is that there is no disease. It is only an appearance, and the reality is health. So, for example, you can watch a documentary, Heal, in Netflix. It's about people who have disease or whatever, and they're able to heal themselves by just thinking, meditating, thinking that there is no disease, that there is only health. So watch it. Okay? So let's continue. To look upon the appearances of poverty will produce corresponding forms in your own mind. Unless you hold to the truth that there is no poverty, there is only abundance. To think health when surrounded by the appearances of disease, or to think riches when in the midst of appearances of poverty, requires power. But he who acquires this power becomes a mastermind. He can conquer fate, he can have what he wants. Then we must grasp the truth that every thought held in this substance becomes a form, and that man can so impress his thoughts upon it as to cause them to take form and become visible things. For example, if you want a nice car, go to your dealership, ride the car, feel it. Feel that it's already yours. Imagine it's already yours. And it will happen if you do that every single day until you have the resources to buy the car. Okay? All right, let's continue. You must lay aside all other concepts of the universe than this monistic one, and you must dwell upon this until it's fixed in your mind and has become your habitual thought. Read these creed statements over and over again. Fix every word upon your memory and meditate upon them until you firmly believe what you say. If a doubt comes to you, cast it aside as a sin. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. Do not go to churches or lectures where a contrary concept of things is taught or preached. Do not read magazines or books which teach a different idea. If you get mixed up in your faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these things are true, nor speculate as to how they can be true. Simply take them on trust. The science of getting rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this faith. Okay? All right. So, thought, the first principle is thought. So, this is the driving force that creates an extraordinary business and extraordinary life. Okay? So, in this chapter, it may be very challenging for you and other people, and and as to how you're going to work this. Like, focus on the things you really, really want and cast aside all the negatives about your thoughts, especially the things that you want. And the good thing about this is my mentor, Robert Hollis, teaches the science of getting rich before he even teaches you how to succeed in your business. Before he gives you the secret sauce to succeeding, he requires you to read the science of getting rich first, so that you know you have to fix your stinking thinking first. Okay, because you need to become the person that you have to be able to get what you want or your dreams. Okay, so the reason why this is challenging is because a lot of people would rather not think. Although most people think they think, but they actually don't. So in this chapter, it says that faith is thinking thoughts that are not in the appearance. This is speaking and thinking things that are not as if they are. So the simple thought that if you do things in a certain way will will either get you to heaven or to hell. It depends on how you think, right? Do you get it? So your thoughts are things. Okay? So everything created was from the formless. And man is a thinking machine. Imagine. So you need to learn to think. So for example, if you are in a situation wherein you are in prison, And of course, when you're in prison, you see all of the other your inmates decaying, being tortured, you know, depressed, no hope. They all lost hope, and they feel they're going to die because not everybody is able to get out of prison, right? Once convicted. So if you want to get out of there, you have to think otherwise. You have to think like an extraordinary person. You have to think of the positive. It's just like winter. If you have four seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall, right? So, and the worst is winter. So if you're in winter, you have to focus on spring. So if you're in prison, you have to focus on how to get out of there. You have to focus on your next delicious meal. You have to focus on where you're going with your family, what vacation you will have with your family. You have to think of all the good things out there and forget try to focus on not looking at the depressing things in prison so you can get out there, right? So like let's say here the great escapes in history. If you google that, you will find that those people who were able to get out were really extraordinary thinkers, and everybody is capable of that. So we also have Jeff Bezos. He became the richest person on the planet, and because he built Amazon.com, well, he turned the internet into a powerhouse. Now a lot of people are creating websites like Amazon.com because, you know, Jeff Bezos has earned like 300, what was that? I think it was like 300,000, 300 million per minute. Imagine. So a lot of businesses are now building similar Amazon.coms online now because it's really earning a lot. A bigger percentage of the population of people are buying online than from physical stores. So a lot of physical stores are closing down. All right. So Jeff Bezos said you need to be nimble and robust. So you need to be able to think and take a punch. And you also need to be quick and innovative and do new things at a higher speed. That's the best defense against the future. So he already um, could foresee what's going to happen in the future. So this is his best defense, right? You have to think at a higher speed. Okay, another one is if you're in poverty, you have to focus on abundance because we like remember chapter 1 of the science of getting rich. We have the right to be rich, and we were all gifted with abundance. So focus on abundance. So that even if you have the littlest thing, think that you're already there. You're already in your dream house. That you have your dream career. That you have your dream car. That you have your family on a very nice vacation to the Bahamas, to Maldives. So you have make your perfect days. Think of your perfect days. What are your perfect days? You can put that on a notebook and write down what is your perfect day and focus on that every day, and it will happen. All right. So your thoughts are the most important at that point when you're in prison, to think of the positive and how to get out. Okay, so because if you think correctly, well, if you don't think correctly, you don't imagine how to get out of there, imagine what will happen to you. So if you don't imagine that you're going to have a great old age, if you don't imagine your dream home, if you don't imagine a better relationship, let's say you're in a marriage and your spouse is always, both of you, you always expect too much from your spouse. Instead of doing that, you can think of think of each other, like be grateful for, which is the next chapter. Be grateful of what your spouse does for you. Smile, even if you're not satisfied. Look at the brighter side and think of the good things that your spouse does for you, and that your spouse is your best friend, right? And think about what do you call it? Having a good life, a better life, a nice future, happy together. Think exactly where are you? Imagine exactly what you smell. Think about the past things that happened to you wherein you were so happy together. Focus on that. Focus on the things that made you fall in love with each other first. And always remember that and keep doing that. So you keep the love strong until you age. All right. So what else? So think about incredible vacations with your family. And what else? Believe that there is forever, right? Okay. So another one. What else? So just for couples, learn to humble yourself. Humble yourself and adjust. Adjust to your relationship, adjust to your partner. Your relationships, well, you can be a good husband or wife, mother or father, brother or sister, or best friend, you know. Just humble yourself and talk more of the other person. Learn to be interested and interesting, right? Okay, be more interested than interesting. Okay. So, because if you don't think these thoughts, you're going to decline, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be hopeless, you're going to be uninspired, people will not like you, you don't have anything to look forward to, and you start to decay and die. So, it's very, very important that you fix your thoughts, think only of the good things. Okay? So the way extraordinary people think is totally the opposite of what other people think. And you can be extraordinary if you learn to think positively, learn to think that you can forgive people, learn to think that nothing is impossible, think abundance, and so that you don't entertain any negative thoughts. This could be challenging. People think they're positive, but you know, even if you just think of a negative thought for let's say 1-2 minutes, it affects your whole day. It affects the everything you do at that moment, next hour. So make sure it's always good thoughts that you think about. Okay, so what else? So you gotta think otherwise, you gotta think the opposite. And because it's not easy, so you have to practice. Do it every day. And because if you keep on focusing on poverty, it gets bigger. But if you keep focusing on abundance, it gets bigger. So that's better. All right. So on this one chapter, Earl Nightingale, he put up an album. Um, he created sort of like a book, and he it was so inspirational. It was called The Strangest Secret, and he put it in a vinyl record, and it became the most heard and most spoken album. And all he did was to talk about the this chapter, and it was so good. You can even go to YouTube right now and search Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret, and it's incredible. Read that or watch it, listen to it for 30 days, and it will make a change in you. in a positive way. Okay, so in that book, in The Strangest Secret, where he talks about this chapter, the first principle, he said that, let's say 100 men who all started even at age 25, believing that they're going to be successful, by the age of 65, one will be rich, four will be financially independent, five will be still working, and 54 will all be broke. So think for a moment, out of the 100, only five made the grade. So why do so many people fail, right? So what happened to the sparkle when they were 25? What happened to their enthusiasm, their excitement? What happened to that? Most people at age 25, they actually die spiritually, but until they are buried until the age of 65, no, not really 65, 70 or 80, right? And they lose their goal. They don't have a goal. That's the reason. That's the reason why they are actually dead by that age. So success here means if a man is working toward a predetermined goal and knows where he is going, that man is a success. If he's not doing that, then he's a failure. So to do things in a certain way, um, you have to want to do them. You will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. And this is the first step toward getting rich. Okay, all right. So that was all for this chapter. I'll see you again in the next video. See you.